Episode number 12, Jim Plaxton, Part 2.
It's gonna snow tonight. I know I will be liking it. So let's go. Let's go. Step out of the house, step into the wild. Put on that dress tonight, the one your mom don't like. I'll see you at the lights.
Welcome back to the Title Block, a podcast about Canadian theatre designers, their history, and their craft. I'm your host, Michael Kruse, and on today's episode, I finish my interview with venerable Toronto-based theatre designer Jim Plaxton. We speak about Jim's introduction of cardboard into Toronto theatre and his work on The Village of Small Huts, Histories by Michael Hollingsworth. Here I am trying a unique questioning style where I refer to something incorrectly, get the director's name wrong or forget a name, and Jim corrects me. It's very impressive, let me tell you. It has been a busy fall so far, so I have been unable to get episodes out on time, but I will have the next one out in the next few weeks, which is an interview I did with lighting designer Sholem Dogoy. Let's pick up my chat with Jim. We began by talking about his work on Michael Hollingsworth's play Strawberry Fields and Jim's solution to how to transform a highway into a field in the Berkeley Theatre upstairs space with a 12-foot grid. Jim speaks of Arcadia in the latter half of this episode, and I just wanted to say that that is the co-op in which Jim Plaxton currently lives. So that's terrific. So let's just talk about the early 80s. Just for a second, is it worth discussing Toronto Free Theatre? You did a lot of work for Toronto Free Theatre in the 1980s.
I did some, yeah.
Yeah. Strawberry Fields was mentioned to me as kind of an important work for them. Do you feel like that is and you won a Dora for it in 81.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the play. First of all, it was at the Berkeley Street upstairs space,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. The play was, as I recall, 100 years ago, the play was set in England. It was a British playwright. Bill Lane was the director. It followed a couple who went on a bit of a tour up the M1, up north of London, up into the countryside. So that to me suggests, and there were like many plays, there were lots of different locations. But it seemed to me the freeway was kind of key. Some of them were interior, some of them were, imagine you're on a car, some of them were in plazas or shopping centers or whatever. So I came up with the idea of a freeway flyover as a main set piece. And the last scene happened, so it was a very urban-looking thing, a very constructivist thing. But the last scene of the play happened on a hillside. So how are we going to get a hillside? Are we going to change a freeway into a hillside?
That's right.
So this is a very large cardboard structure. It was made of cardboard boxes that were glued together with triple wall cardboard in between that give it its strength and everything. Nobody believed it would work. You can't build anything like that out of cardboard, but yeah, it worked. It worked.
Is this a material that you had found previously, or is this the first time you started working with it?
I'd been working with cardboard as an inexpensive way of, say, building a flat. Because this triple pack, for example, comes in sheets that are, I think they were 9.5 feet wide by 12 feet long or something. So bam, that's a flat. And all you have to do is put a little bit of wood on the backside and glue it on. Easy to cut, easy to work with, cheaper than plywood, cheaper than skin ply, cheaper than cotton.
How thick is it?
This particular triple pack, I think it's probably about 5/8.
Oh, okay.
It's 3 layers of corrugation and 4 layers of paper.
Right.
Yeah.
I had seen when I first started doing theater in the late 80s, there were people selling up to 1 inch thick corrugated stuff for doing exactly that thing. But this was not really built for theater. This was something that was built for shipping. Is that right? Like it wasn't.
That's right.
Yeah.
I first discovered this material when I needed to build some costume crates, if you like, places to store costumes, and there were ready-made things of that name. I guess moving companies probably had them, and that's where I discovered this actual material. There was another kind of material which was the honeycomb, the actual honeycomb stuff. If you open up the inside of any hollow core door, you'll find something similar because it's a honeycomb. And I built a bridge out of this material. You can get it in any thickness you want, and it comes all folded up and it's all flat. It kind of looks like a board, but then when you pull it out, you get that honeycomb structure.
Right. Like an accordion kind of.
Like an accordion, exactly. And I built a bridge which was 40 feet long, 6 inches thick, plywood top and bottom, supported at either end. 40 feet.
40 feet with this cardboard with the
it was actual craft paper.
Right. That's incredible.
And it was that's impossible.
Right.
Yeah. So paper, and it very easy to work with, and yeah, it's strong if it's used properly.
Mm-hmm. So coming back to Strawberry Fields, you built this sort of on ramp or flying freeway. How did it transform into the hillside?
Yeah, there was what it was, if you can imagine very, very simply, it was about an 18-inch thick slab. But it had curves. It has a curved thing, so it was like a freeway flyover. You go to the Gardner Expressway. It looked, if you were underneath it, it would be that. And I had fluorescent lights inside it, because I needed that for certain scenes. But it was built onto a frame at the back, upstage, with a bunch of hinges. So there was some wood involved at the back to get these hinges in there. And so at the end of the second last scene, there was a blackout, and actually the Strawberry Fields theme came on, Beatles thing. And during the blackout, it lowered down to the floor because it was held to the grid with 2 lines through pulleys and counterweighted. And it lowered to the floor, and somebody ran on in the dark and unhooked the 2 cables, and boom, and the lights came up, and it was gone. This huge thing that had been dominating the theater. And it was a rake that went from right downstage and, by the toes of the audience, upstage. It was probably about 8 feet upstage at the back.
And it became this.
It was this big rake.
Yeah.
And then we had painted it to look like a kind of a, grassy hillside with, like a few flowers and stupid things. Yeah.
Right.
And the last scene was played on that rake.
That's terrific. Yeah. You won 3 Doras that year.
Oh my God.
I know, all at once. Night, Strawberry Fields, and Refugees, apparently. That was in 1981.
Oh, you know what? I think I might have won 1 Dora for all 3.
Oh, they were all part of...
I think, and then they changed the rules or something.
So they're awarding you, not the production or something.
I think that might have been that year, and they said, oh, that's not fair, So in other words, you can only vote for 1. So if I had 3 nominations in the following year, say,
right,
I would be going against myself, if you like.
Oh yeah. Okay.
In other words, I could only
win for 1.
I could only win for 1.
Right.
There was an outcry.
Right.
Well, come on, it's a body of work. It should be a posthumous award.
That's right. That was the first year for the Doras in 81, right? So they were still figuring stuff out.
They were working it out. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna go. Let's just before I want to get on to excuse me, I want to get on to to Videocab. But I just want to get your take on a couple things before we get there.
Sure.
I did want to talk about, and this is again just a small story. The reason I was curious because I don't think this has been done ever since. In '84, just back on the Doras, they passed on. They called. I guess they had shot the Doras for TV previously, so people could come in and actually set up cameras inside to tape the event. Mm-hmm. And there was a bit of, it became very awards show, boring.
Glitzy,
yeah. And so they decided to bring in Videocaberet and Richard Greenblatt to direct.
I remember that, and I designed.
Yeah, and you designed it. And that was at the Palais Royal.
It was at the Palais Royal.
Yeah. Tell me about how that came about. How did it work out? Like, did it...
It was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It was a great party, but it was awful.
Oh no!
Well, I think it was awful from the comfort. 'Cause what it was, we set up the room with a stage and some screens, and we had slideshow, rear projection slideshow of the award things and all that, and lighting. But the poor folks, they were set at these long tables.
Right.
That were set perpendicular to the stage. And they went all the way back, and people were chock-a-block, jam with folding chairs.
Right.
And that's their little meal thing. So I did the tables and the table decorations and a lot of crepe paper and, napkins. And so the party and the food, it was all there in one place.
Right.
And I didn't think it was a great party. I had fun. Mm-hmm. I was busy. I was doing something.
Right.
And I don't think I was even nominated that year, which was good.
Right.
So, but I think it was unpopular because of the room probably wasn't even air conditioned, so it might have been a little.
Yeah. This is prior to the renovation to Palais. It was kind of run down at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. It was an old dance hall.
Right.
Yeah. It was rustic.
Right. And Richard wrote a bunch of skits for it or something. He had a bunch of 6 actors on stage.
Yeah, well, I was backstage running slide projectors, so I didn't see much of the show.
Right. Okay.
And then after the show, I partied I just partied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why it wasn't done again, I guess.
It wasn't ever done like that again.
Right.
I think theater should be in a theater.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
As opposed to a an old room with pigeons smell and
Right. All right. So speaking of cardboard, now that we've sort of laid your kind of beginnings in that, let's talk about Videocab.
Sure.
And this is Michael Hollingsworth and what's his partner's name?
Deanne Taylor.
Deanne Taylor.
Yep.
So Michael Hollingsworth, Deanne Taylor started Videocab, and they did this to produce the history of the village of the small huts. That was their first work, wasn't it?
Oh no! There were other productions. You may recall that Deanne and the sisters actually ran for mayor. Mm-hmm. So that was before that.
Right.
They did Patty Rehearsed before that. Patty Rehearsed, I think, was more of a Deanne Taylor production. So they were. I think they agreed among themselves to, okay, you do one, then I'll do one, then you do one, then I'll do one. Mm-hmm. Michael's turn, I think he did a couple of others before. I can't even remember whether I worked with him, and whether the first time I worked with him was at, I was involved with something at Videocab before the histories, and I just can't remember which it was, or what it was, what production, or indeed what I did.
Yeah.
I might have run a camera or something, who knows, or decorated a gym.
Right, exactly.
But Michael came to me with this 4-part play series, starting with New France, and then going up to the present day. There were going to be 4 productions, and would I design the set and lights for him? And I said, sure, absolutely. I had been thinking about an idea that I had, which when I was working on another production as a set designer, not as a lighting designer, but this involved lighting. So I put that on the side of my drawing board and said, I'm going to wait for the next opportunity to use this. And the idea was to try to eliminate spill. So you wanted to light a shot glass on a table, and the director said, I just want to see that shot glass. And you put a little pin spot on it, but you can also see the table, and you can see there's someone sitting there, and can you get rid of that spill? So we invented this thing called beam stop, which was a dream, like these special lights that had beam stop, but couldn't figure out how to actually make lights stop.
Right.
But if you build a box and you poke a hole in the box, like a pinhole camera idea, and you put a light outside that box, you'll get a little shaft of light in that box. So that was the idea. So for the first histories, which was New France, in the back space at Theatre Passe-Muraille, we built a very large cardboard box out of, it wasn't triple wall, it was actually the honeycomb, which is a honeycomb material, about 1.5 inches or 2 inches thick with craft paper on either side. So we built this box, poked holes in the ceiling. I think there were, at that time, I think there were only 5 holes because it was a small space. But we had a few dozen lights poking through those holes at various angles, and we had a couple of holes on the side walls as well. And we had an entrance at the upstage, and I think 2 entrances on either side. They were actual cardboard doors on the sides, as I recall. And they were later replaced with curtains and a double set of curtains. But it was great. We worked the actors, the poor actors, to the bone, because if they didn't, we had glow tape on the floor, of course, and for scene 97, which was probably 30 seconds long and had a page of dialogue, and most of the scenes were like a half a page or a page long, as far as dialogue was concerned, and blackouts in between. They had to hit their mark, or they couldn't be seen. You could be a foot away and you'd be invisible.
Right.
Because of this beam. There'd be a little spot on the floor, perhaps, if you noticed it.
Yes.
But
the entire inside's covered in black commando or something, right? Like
everything was painted black. This was just black paint at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. We later evolved to doing something a little lighter because it was all cardboard before, and that all changed to drapes, to fabric.
Right.
But you can get a blacker black than you can with paint.
Yeah.
But we did tech for 3 weeks. Because I said to Michael, yes, but this idea will require me to be in rehearsal. We'll have to build the set, do the light, the pre-light, and when you start rehearsing, I'll be there.
Was that an unusual thing? I think these days,
totally
having
unusual.
designers in early is not that unusual, but
But to actually work on the stage where you're going to be performing, that is unusual.
Right.
I mean, it was a luxury. And I said, this is really the way Europeans work, is that you build the set, and then you call the actors in, they work on the set, and you develop the entire design based on actual working. You don't work in a rehearsal hall and then suddenly have a couple of 12-hour days to work the actors and the tech together. This was working the tech and the actors together at the same time from the beginning.
Why do you think that's not done here? Why do you think we work
expensive.
in the opposite way? Right.
In other words, you have to tie up the space for 3 weeks.
Right.
If you're rehearsing for 3 weeks before your first preview week or something.
Right.
And renting space, I guess that was it. But I was the associate artistic director of Theatre Passe-Muraille and controlled the space.
Right. That has an advantage.
So yeah, and it was an experiment, but we worked. Clark and I, we worked a couple of productions that way, where we built the space, we rehearsed on it, and then presented the play. Economics doesn't make much sense, but it should be done. You know?
Makes a difference. And so that 4-part series became 21 parts.
Something like that. It was a hit. Okay, the New France was a hit. It was packed out, and I guess there were only 70 seats there, but it was packed out every night, and it might even have been held over, and it looked great. It was funny. People enjoyed it. So it was a hit. there were flaws in it, but as a first crack, I think it's been rewritten quite a lot since those days. Yeah, so I guess he loved writing, and there was a lot to say, and so he just kept writing. So that one play became 2, and then another play became 4, because there was just so much material.
Yeah.
And we did World War I, World War II, and I lost count on how many I did, but I think I did them right up to the very end. And now what is happening? They're in remount. And I think that's one of those plays that can run forever and ever and ever and ever. I wanted to do them for television.
Sure.
I wanted to get them recorded. I mean, Videocaberet.
Yeah.
You know? And I also introduced video into them, which Michael had never done before. It was more of a Deanne thing. She, used to come on stage with her actors, literally carrying cameras with lots of screens and TV sets all over the place. And so that was sort of the Videocaberet element. And I worked with Alan Bridle, who worked with video as well on a couple of productions. Last Man, I think, was the name of one of them. But we introduced video into it. I got a big, huge piece of insect screen and hung it up in the front and gave it a slight gray tone, and had video projection from the front, from the back, it was, but fun to play.
Yeah, that's an incredible thing. Now, you told me before that your reaction to many times when you get to the opening night of most productions, you sort of watch the show and you go, I forgot that, or I should have done that better. What was your reaction to Videocab, to that? Yeah,
I mentioned that earlier. Because I was so intimately involved in the entire rehearsal process, and it's like I had not blinders on, but I was very focused. Because, every 8-hour session we would be lighting, and we started at the beginning of the play and we went right through it. And then we would run bits, and we would fix them, and da-da-da-da. But there was a lot of, tech. 500 lighting cues, I think, in the hour and a half.
Which is
a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot for the backspace of Pass Mariah. I mean, the tech.
Yeah.
It's all manual board, right?
Yeah. In this case, it was manual. This first production. After the ones later, we put it on a computer, on an Apple IIe,
right.
To make it more doable. So a stage manager could do it, but we needed an operator. But I'd already worked with Hrant Alyanak on Lucky Strike, and Lucky Strike had 550 cues on a manual 2-scene preset board. So I knew how to whip people. People who would say, I can't do this.
Right.
There are 15 cues in the first 30 seconds. I said, yeah, you can do it. We'll just work it. Yeah.
I remember talking to David James, who did the production at Factory. And when you sat close enough to the booth, all you heard was the faders, slam, 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 slam. And he
was amazing.
Never looked up. Like, he just did.
Go.
Just go, and then the beginning and the end, that's all it was. Right?
I don't know how he did it.
It was great, though. It was a brilliant production.
I would implode. But anyway, as to answer your question, when we were going to run the full production, the full play, for the first time, like from beginning to end with costumes, and I sat in the house and I saw it really for the first time, because I just seen it in bits and pieces, and then in detail work. I was amazed. I was, I think to say I was pleased and proud, it would be an exaggeration, but it was the first time I'd ever said, oh my God, that's really good work. It doesn't always happen in theater, rarely, that you can say, that's a finished piece of work. We got it this time, because you can always fiddle. You can always you could do more. Oh, look at that awful lighting cue. I mean, you could tweak that and make it look very special, or take a whole new take on it and try another thing. But you run out of time, because you had 400 lights to focus, and you had 4 hours to do it, and you had 2 8-hour sessions to light the piece, and then you're up and running with previews, and you're not allowed to talk to the board operator during previews unless you have a private connection.
Right.
But but that was, and I think a lot of it came from the fact that I'd had 3 weeks of lighting tech.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because everything was done with lights, because it had to be.
Yeah. How was you did the set and lighting, and then Astrid Jensen did the costumes, right? And the
I don't know whether she did the first. I'm not sure whether she was involved with the first production. I think she came in a little later. Shadowland was, and Shadowland did the props and costumes, as far as I remember, on the first one, and maybe even the second one. Astrid came in later.
How much did the space? I mean, you had the idea of the black box, and you found the perfect application for it. How much does the environment of the theater affect your choices for design? For example, if it wasn't in the backspace of Passe Muraille, and you were at the Factory Lab, or you were at a larger venue, how would that have changed the design, or would it have?
I think the basic concept for the play, because there were so many scenes, and they were very short scenes, and they were all punctuated with blackouts, like 2-second blackouts in between scenes, that was the pattern that was set. When you go into any space, the space, puts obligations or limitations on what you can do. But every production we did, whether it was in the main space at Passe Muraille or Factory Lab or the theater center, all used the same principle. It always had a ceiling, a full ceiling with holes that the lights came through. So that was the theme. That never changed. Although the number of holes, the number of lights, and all that, yes, it changed. The basic shape of the stage. For World War I, I think we introduced an actual trench halfway through the stage, so people could, be in a trench. In other words, actors would be below the stage level, just with their heads poking up. So there were different elements. Some had rakes, some had steps. Some had a combination of steps and rakes and trenches. So, you play, but the basic black box remained a black environment.
And not everyone had a scrim at the front. Is that right?
They were added. The scrim thing was added. I think it was after World War II.
Okay. Right, that makes sense.
And whether it was for Trudeau, I'm not sure. I know it was there for Trudeau. It might have been the one before. But I don't have the chronology in front of me, so Yeah. But the scrim was an added thing. And video projections, they came before the scrim. We started using a bit of video, but yeah.
And that was live video. It wasn't playback?
Yeah. It was a combination, actually.
Oh, okay.
It was a combination. With Trudeau, it was all live.
Right.
It was cameras. I think we had 3 cameras and 1 projector and a screen in the back.
And that was, I guess, to present the media as another character?
Not so much, no. There was a there was some of that, like as a television announcement, but again, that was all done live because we had a little booth backstage where we had a camera set up so you could light a talking head, and put him on a screen, either the front screen or the back screen or both. And we had camera in the front of the house and a camera in the back of the stage so that we could photograph the backs of people and put them on the front in combination with the fronts of people put on the back. So you would actually be filming the people behind the scrim, but in the context of the same scrim, and so it would be like almost a feedback loop. So there was some fun little plays.
That's excellent. So let's just shift over to the Native Earth Theater. You had a long history working with the Native. Is the Native Canadian? Let me just make sure I get my my facts straight here. The Native, which was first, the Native Earth Productions or Native Canadian Centre, or are they the
Native
same?
Canadian Centre on, was it Bloor and Spadina?
Mm-hmm.
I think hosted the formation of the theater production group.
I see, okay.
So I think the centre came first,
Right.
and then the theater came afterward. I'm not 100% sure of that.
Right. And how did you get involved with them originally?
I was asked to design a piece.
Yeah.
What was amazing, my first experiences, was working with native actors who, many of them had never been near a stage before, and many of whom English was not their mother tongue. It was Cree or Ojibwe or something. It was, with a smile on my face, I'll say it was embarrassing, because it was so amateurish, or it felt so amateurish, because they can't speak. I can't, because I was working with trained actors.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But it really started to click. It really started to grow on me, and I started to realize that there's a cultural level of humor there which I'd never experienced before. And it was new stuff that had been written, and mostly by native people. And then came Thompson Highway. Yeah.
Right, the great playwright.
And Larry Lewis as a director. People from Manitoulin Island, Gloria Eschkebach and Graham Greene, and the list goes on. Tom, and wow.
There was a connection, this might be completely irrelevant, but there was a connection I know between Paul Thompson and Manitoulin as well. Did this come later, or was that connected to this kind of flow of ideas between the two places, or?
I'm not sure. You'd have to check with Paul about that connection, but I know Theatre Passe-Muraille began a program of incubating other theaters. In the same way that Paul approaches putting on a play or creating a play as a collective creation, he plants a seed, which is basically an idea in the minds of a group of actors. And I know that extended not just to his playmaking, but right across the country by seeding. I think they were called seed shows, in fact.
Right, yeah.
Where Passe-Muraille would, like an arts council in a way, would give some cash to a group in Saskatoon. He might very well have done some seeding on Manitoulin Island. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Global Village Theatre.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's talk about that.
That's probably my first theatre.
Yeah.
Even before Toronto Dance Theatre.
Yeah.
Working with Frank Massey, who I would call my first mentor in theatre lighting. He had been working with the beginning of Toronto Dance Theatre. But the Global Village was actually built as a theater for the production of one production called Blue S.A. because they couldn't get it produced. No one wanted to touch it. And it was Elizabeth Swerdlow and Robert Swerdlow. And I don't know where they got the money, but they built the theater and we built it. Frank and I and Keith and a few other people literally built a theater for one production. And after that production, which, was that was when they landed on the moon. So you can check that date.
Right, yeah.
I was in the booth running sound when they were landing on the moon.
Right.
For Blue S.A.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was nothing planned after it. And there was a winter coming. So we started running movies.
Oh, okay.
We ran King Kong for a while, just to try to keep the lights on.
Where was the theater built?
It was in the laneway. Let's see, St. Nicholas Street, and where Sutton Place is on Bay. So it's sort of behind Sutton Place.
Right.
It was in a big, huge warehouse space. We did the Fut Festival there. But what I was going to tell you, which was really talking about the Royal Alex, I went and saw my very first show of female impersonation at a gay club with a gay friend, and I said, "Wow, why don't we do something like this? Because this is like, we got to decorate the gym and put on a show because we're going to turn off the heat and the light if we don't do something." So we started talking that up, and that's what we did. And we did a show called Facade with no E, because they were guys. And Mr. Mervish came to see it, and he booked it into the Royal Alex.
Oh, my God.
So that might have been one of the first shows that came from the so-called alternate fringe into the Alex. I mean, we put Maggie and Pierre in there later, and da-da-da-da. But I wanted to mention that because that was a fun thing.
Yeah. How long did that run for?
It ran for a good month. I helped to produce it and get it up and running, but then I went off to Saskatchewan to shoot a film on an Indian powwow. So I wasn't around in that exciting time when suddenly Robert and Elizabeth flew back from New York and said, "Okay, we've got a big show." And Mervish put up some cash, and so we made it.
That's terrific.
Made a big show. I think the Global Village was, part of my education, or the beginning of my education in theater, what theater was to me anyway. I attended theater when I was a kid a lot, saw my dad on stage.
Yeah.
He wasn't an actor.
No.
He was a candy bar salesman.
Right.
And a taxi driver and a few other things.
Speaking of film, you were still doing some film projects throughout.
All the time,
All the time, eh?
Yeah, a little bit here and a little bit there. Feature films, done half a dozen features as production designer, I think I'm called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I brought in theater people.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Drove them all mad. But these people I knew, and I knew what they could do, and they worked. And we did impossible things for very little.
All right. The ADC. You were around at the beginning of the ADC.
Yep.
With Sholem
Dolgoy.
What can you tell me about how that started? I understood in someone's basement the idea sort of came about, was I was told. But what's
either a basement or a bar.
Right. Yes.
There's only two possibilities.
That's right.
Maybe it was a bar in a basement.
Right.
Well, I know Sholem and I talked about contracts a lot, because as, like semi-senior designers, I don't think we would really be called senior designer. He was at Toronto Free. I think he was almost resident there. And it might have been at the time when I was at Passamarais and but I also had a freelance career. And contracts were becoming, because usually you just sort of shake hands and say, yeah, I'll be there on Friday, and we'll work for a couple of weeks and we'll have a show. The contracts started becoming necessary. And for me, because of the low fees that I was being offered, I put a clause in all of my contracts that, yes, I will accept your fee of $1,000 for designing this show, but I want, in addition to that, I want the price of 2 tickets or 1 ticket or whatever you can get. I think my general deal was 2 tickets for every performance. It's like a residual. It is like I am licensing you to show my work. Like you're paying the actors through this whole time, and they're being paid a living wage. And so I just would like to have a little corner. And Sholem also agreed with that as a principle. But selling it to theaters on a scale, because we're trying to improve the lives of, hopefully, improve the lives of designers coming up. Because a lot of them, I worked on things where I never did get paid because I didn't have anything written down. People would just say thanks, and if I didn't bring it up, and it's a hard thing to talk about, give me my money, because you love the work, and it's hard to put a value on it. But anyway, so that led to us putting our contracts together, and ADC came about.
Right.
But I didn't have that much to do with like signing the corporate papers or anything like that. So
right. And so that's at the beginning. Let's just talk about your choice to sort of retire in 99. Let's say you are 71 now, right?
Yep.
So in 99, you would have been in your 50s.
Isn't that Freedom 55? Isn't that what we're all supposed to do? Yeah.
That's what the bank's trying to tell us.
Get out of the road.
I'm not retiring when I'm 55.
Freedom 105, I think somebody said.
Right.
Yeah.
But how did that come about? I mean, it's not... One of the biggest things, one of the reasons that I got out of the business was because I saw people who were in their 30s and 40s struggling to convince people they were still relevant. Of course, all of them were, but there's this kind of culture of youth or culture of new ideas. And because young companies, just because of the nature of the shape of the population of the business, there's a lot of people in their 20s that work in it, and so they'll hire their friends. And that kind of loomed over my career.
Yeah, also, I know that the same people kept coming back to me, and a lot of it was what you'd call a repeat business, I guess. And, oh, yeah, this is my team, and this is my team. And, and I danced around with George Walker for a while, danced around with Hrant Alianak for a while, danced around, and you get these relationships. And then, obviously, the Videocaberet with Michael Hollingsworth, I did many, many, many productions with him. Just as a prelude to that, I once retired from theater for a period of 18 months. I just didn't accept any more contracts. I said, I'm going to do something else. And I went to work for a company for $20 an hour called Greenlight. And it was a computer graphics based company. And I taught myself how to do computer graphics. Animation stuff and for 18 months. And it was very refreshing, and I would do things like that to myself. I would say, okay, I'm not going to use any color in my lights for the next 3 productions. So just like open white and just intensity and work with that. That's keeping it fresh. And then finding new ideas and new ways and challenging yourself by introducing cardboard or introducing baby diaper material as screens and stuff like that. But my retirement came that I was saying to myself, okay, I've been working for other people, basically, for my whole career. Somebody writes a play. I didn't write it. Somebody is producing it. I'm not producing it. I'm being hired on to basically perform a function, which is fine. And I had a great career and I loved it. But I want to do something for myself. And I'm not a playwright.
Right.
And I probably make a lousy producer. I don't know how much success I had at Theatre Passe Muraille when I was, sort of in that semi-role, but some, but not 100%. So I'd had, we all have dreams, and one of my dreams was to build a sailboat, sail around the world. We all have that, dreams similar to that. And the other one was to build a house from scratch somewhere. Where? Who knows? I don't know. But as we mentioned before, I'd been going to Jamaica, and I just fell into a Jamaican hole. The friends of mine, Jamaican friends, who actually were educated here in Toronto, but had gone back to make their fortune in Jamaica, had bought land in this particular place. And I was down with my daughter for March break one year, and we went and looked at their land that they bought. And they said, oh, that's really nice. And we saw an acre of land, and it was up for sale in this development to be a gated community. And I bought it. Just like that. Put down 50 grand and said, oh my God, now what am I going to do?
Right.
So I built it. I built a 4,000 square foot house with a swimming pool and 2 or 3 other buildings on the property. And yeah, it's been fun. 15 years.
Yeah. That's a while. And you've been doing other small projects or other projects in between there, right?
Well, I built a theater here at Arcadia. I've done lighting both here and for some other smaller productions. A little bit of set design. I did an award show for the CBC. But, I'm not looking for work. My shingle isn't out. But now that Jamaica is sort of approaching the finish line, I could say. Last year was really a finish and furnish year, and you're never done. So I'm probably never going to be done. But now I'm starting to look around saying, so what am I going to do for the next period of my life? I mean, God forbid, say I have another 25 years.
Sure.
What kind of electric wheelchair will I be using with hydraulic lifters on it? But I do love the theater, and I do love playing. And that's really one of the reasons I built this little space downstairs, because I know I can go in there and play anytime I want if there's something to play with, or someone who wants to play.
I'm going to ask you about one more thing.
Sure.
And this has to do with about Nothing Sacred at the factory. You designed it when it went into the Winter Garden. Did you design the whole thing? Were you the designer throughout the process of Nothing Sacred? Like, it was produced someplace else first, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember where, but it went into the Winter Garden.
Yeah, I did that. It was Diane English was producing, and George F. Walker, and it was a quasi-factory theater production, or maybe it was an independent. I think it might have been an independent production.
Yeah.
I don't know where the money came from.
Oh, okay, because apparently they said there was this is what the paper said, there was a $365,000 budget, which seems appropriate, I guess, to go to the Winter Garden. It's a longer run, right? But they had sold shares at $5,000 each to this thing.
Yeah, I think I bought one.
And
there goes my fee.
Exactly, I was going to say. But it didn't. It was a successful production, wasn't it? At the Winter Garden?
It was a good show.
Yeah,
it was a good show. We didn't sell out.
Right.
I think, as a matter of fact, we had a holdover, but we had to move it from the Winter Garden into the bigger theater, and then it kind of died in there.
Oh, I see.
Something like that. But the CBC picked it up, and the CBC filmed it.
Oh, right.
So there was some money that came in at the end of it because they taped it.
Right.
And they took the set, they took everything, and I think I got a little residual fee out of that, and but that might have cleaned up the if there was deficit left.
Yeah.
Might have helped to clean that up.
That was kind of a
Diane English would know all the details. Because I think she called me about a year after that and said, hey, I got a check for $250 for you, or something like that.
Right.
I'll see you at last.
And thus ends part 2 of my interview with designer Jim Plaxton. Next time I bring you an hour-long conversation with lighting designer Sholem Dolgoy, so you won't want to miss that. The music for this podcast is PodSafe music from the band 1990s called See You at the Lights. You can find them at roughtraderecords.com/the 1990s. Please go to iTunes and give us a review. It'll help get the word out about this podcast and share the history of theater design in Canada. And you can follow us on Twitter at TheTitleBlockCA and on Facebook.com/The Titleblock Podcast. You can send comments and requests by email to thetitleBlock@gmail.com. Feel free to share this with your friends, colleagues, students, and teachers, or listen to it while you daydream about your very own trip around the world in a sailboat. I'm Michael Kruse, and I will see you next time on The Title Block.